confiding in your mom about your issues with Mr. Depp and the physical abuse?
Objection, hearsay, compound.
That sustains the compound.
When did you start confiding in your mother about the abuse you were suffering at the hands of Mr. Depp?
I was confiding in her from the very beginning about the abuse, the psychological abuse, the kind of control, the disappearing, the not knowing where he was, then he'd come back and then sometimes in the middle of the night, the constant accusations, like that sort of thing.
I mean, when she started crying, I had to come online. I had to.
I couldn't tell any of my friends that I was with him for a long time because he told me everyone would blame me for the split with him and his partner, so I had to kind of sneak around and kind of get brought to his house, typically in a secretive way, and then he'd come to mine in a secretive way, and it was just all very, so very isolating. And I confided with her at the very beginning on that sort of thing, and then later opened up to her about some of the violence. I did it gently.
What a performance she's giving, this woman. What a performance.
It was, the rage.
What a performance.
Uncontrolled violence, the rage that this man had, and why it was
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. May we approach, please?
Okay.
She goes from bout of seriousness to crying and over-expressiveness, if we can say something like that. I mean, you want to stay like even keeled, and you want to give the benefit of the doubt. But man, you listen to this woman, you listen to the whole setup of this, and they're depicting this guy as if he was basically in those years a monster. What is happening here? Is it finished?
Just a reminder that now that you're on the stand, you cannot discuss your testimony with anybody to include your attorneys, okay? All right, so we'll be back. Let's make it 3:45, okay?
Thank you.
Wow. All right, I just got in too late. I was following this thing already for some time. Wow. What should I say? All right. First of all, the whole setup. Really setting him up really well. Like starting to be empathetic, telling how wonderful it was in the beginning and the romance, and so on and so forth. And the thing that it's actually amusing, it's how she was talking about being an actress, busting her ass off, like, smaller parts after smaller part, doing, her thing, without acknowledging that probably she has had a career just because Johnny gave her the role on the Room's Diary. If you listen to her, I swear to God, if I didn't know nothing, and you listen to this deposition, you go like, wow, either this woman is very expressive, or she's just a bad actress, or she's acting. But again, I don't want to be like the one that says I don't want to be biased like the psychiatrist that actually came up testifying for her, that in the end we discovered that she didn't even meet her after they split up after 2019, and basically she was hired to go through all of that. And if you ask me, what better way to create a case than to hire a specialist that can coach you on how or what to write or basically how to win a case. Literally, they hired this woman, the huge psychiatrist, after 2019. In 2019, that alone tells you something. They were scouting for people. She was scouting for people. You don't hear me? Hello. Let's see. Guys, do you hear me now? Let's wait a little bit and let's see if you hear me. How is it, guys? Do you hear me? All right, I had to well, maybe go put a little bit more. I guess that should be fine. Let me know. Just let me know if you hear me. All right. So I was saying, if you never heard this woman and you see this without any contest, literally you think like overly expressive, seems like how much she's acting, even if you didn't know anything. But it almost enrages you that you feel that even in her deposition, she feels like she's gaslighting all of the jury. Again, you want to give the benefit of the doubt, okay, fine, but it's really amusing to see how she started out from describing how wonderful it was in the beginning, how lovely it was, and how generous, and all of those things, trying to gain the sympathy, showing that she knows how to recognize the beautiful part, and so on and so forth. And I was already, as soon as I heard her talk about like that, I could already tell, like, oh, here we go. There is the moment that is going to turn. The monster will come out suddenly. And in fact, that's what happened. All of a sudden, Johnny Depp, which has never been violent all of his life, all of a sudden turned into a monster. A guy that probably did more drugs before she was even born, did more alcohol, whatever, for probably a good decade before she was even born. But all of a sudden, he decided that he had to become a monster when meeting her. Let me see if maybe I can put stare. Just give me a second. Guys, I think I have to figure this out. Do you still hear me? Guys, let me know if you hear me for a second before I keep talking. Sorry if you hear me only on one side. Now I don't have time to change the setup. So I knew she was going there. I knew she was going there, all of a sudden depicting Johnny as the monster. And I also knew that all of a sudden she would start to cry right away. I knew like there would be, and there probably is going to be more crying coming, especially when they're going to cross-examine her. For sure she's going to start to cry again. I'm not saying that it's not possible that a person, can change to a degree, but it's really hard that a person all of a sudden in his 40s or 50s becomes a violent piece of shit. It's really difficult. It's something that you carry with you, and I might be wrong. I'm not a specialist, not as good of a specialist as Dr. Hughes, which seems to be absolutely biased. not only biased, but also hired in 2019. She was literally hired after. And then you think like, okay, what better way to know how to behave than to hire a specialist that she can coach you? And that felt exactly like that, feels exactly like that. Luckily, the cross-examination showed also some holes in her deposition, even though the lawyer was a little bit, seemed slower, stumbling sometime, but actually knew what he was doing, and I think he did quite well, I have to say, to my understanding, of course. I'm not a specialist on laws, but it seemed to do quite well, at least to point out how the Dr. Hughes, the Karen doctor, decided to kind of make certain things apparent and neglect other things of her assessment of AH. To me, feels like when you listen to this, really feels like a great narcissist that she knows how to manipulate the whole circumstance. Of course, I might be wrong, but again, I'm willing to believe that a person that has never been violent all of his life, that has always shown kindness and generosity and compassion towards both the people working for him and his ex-spouses, lovers, and all of a sudden he becomes a monster. I hardly believe so. I think that the wrong relationship can cause two people to be toxic with each other, definitely. But most likely there is probably a better chance to believe that she carried in a lot of issues that exacerbated whatever was going on. So I foresee a little bit more crying here in the cross-examination. And it's sad to say, but honestly, there's even a chance that Johnny's going to lose this. Yeah, there's a chance he's going to lose this. When you listen to this, it can be easy for a jury to believe her, you know? So far, all of those things, it's he said, she said in the end. There's not a lot of evidence. When I was listening to Dr. Hughes and all the self-report, right? She was just describing her client reporting herself of everything that she had gone through and all the abuse that she received. But yet there was shown through the cross-examination that basically there is no medical records apart a note of a doctor somewhere or something of a self-report. But there is not medical records of all this abundance of kicks and slaps and whatnot that Johnny supposedly carried out against AH. That I found also strange. Let's see what you guys think there. I was victim of abuse. He even tried to kill our own daughter. Wow, Jesus Christ. Zamenska, James, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't see her crying. Sincere, she cries face up, looking into everyone's eyes. She's fake. I agree, and actually, I actually wanna react on your comment in the way that, you know, she's bringing up all of this stuff that it's supposed to be like Dr. Hughes says. You know, she has PSD, like post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Because of this relationship. And here we have the man that it's supposed to have given her post-stress, PTSD, whatever it's called, post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, I can do that. And it's right there in front of her. She's totally honing the stand in the way that she's talking to the jury with no fear. Apart the little fake crying, she's just running the show. Very expressive, recollecting everything. The guy, the monster, it's right there. Right? It's right there in front of her. And to me, that it's relevant because I think, honestly, if it was truly that deep, the trauma that Johnny Depp had caused her, she would probably have difficulties even being there. And matter of fact, actually, it's interesting to see that actually Johnny Depp is incapable of raising up his eyes. He's there like trying to doodling, like really like you see he's going through some stuff, trying to concentrate on other things because probably he's feeling the pain. You know, it's actually, you feel that the way she should behave, actually it's Johnny behaving that way, you know, like of being somebody that you can see that actually is being traumatized. He can almost, he literally cannot raise his head to look at her. I watched the whole deposition so far, whatever it's like, an half an hour or an hour. The guy was with his face down, unable to look up. Quite remarkable, actually. And it's true, Isabella. Her mood shifts so quickly. It's incredible how you see, like, she goes from like sadness and crying, and all of a sudden she gets interrupted by the lawyer. She's immediately serious. And the Karen psychiatrist said that she doesn't have a histrionic personality. Hard to believe, looking at her in action, honestly. Hard to believe. I think, here we can watch a little bit of the past, right? What is it? Here you go. There was some part here. Look at Johnny. Look at Johnny. He's just literally like, she goes, look how well.
So we were secretly dating, and then, you know, it was beautiful. It was I felt like,
You know what I mean? This is not the behavior of somebody that is traumatized by her abuser. To me, this is not somebody that is traumatized. Actually, John is behaving like somebody is being traumatized. He's like, feels like he has problems standing in his own skin right there. Look at that. She's like looking into everyone. She's shifting emotion, going from like following her story with, you know, with the frowning, with the little laughter, with the little sadness. She's giving the whole like spectrum of emotions on her face, really running the show. And the monster is right there, a few feet away. The bad monster is right there. She's not faced. I've said this before. To me, and don't quote me on this. This is just a gut feeling, right? This is just a gut feeling. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm no one in this field. But in this case, you know, and I just want to make sure also people understand, I am definitely on the side of victims, whether being male or female. I'm definitely on the side of victims. But in this case, just a gut feeling. In this case, in this particular case, everything that we followed, to me, was already enough. The audios that we heard, where you hear her just constantly going after him, constantly poking at him, constantly antagonizing him. And to me, that's not the behavior of somebody that is afraid of her abuser. Not at all. If Johnny was this monster that she's making him to be, I don't think she would have the strength and the guts to taunt him all the time, antagonizing him all the time. Frightening. Honestly frightening. You gotta really watch out who you date. You never know who you're gonna meet. Never know who you're gonna meet. I know that I sound right now heavily biased myself, but one, I'm not standing in a jury. Two, I'm not I'm not testifying for anybody. And three, like I said, I have the gut feeling. I just have a gut feeling that she's the perpetrator of the abuse in this case. Let's see. Finally, a worthy live stream. Thank you, man. Yeah, exactly. Romina. He cannot look at her because she's the abuser. He's basically Johnny is traumatized by her. So he has feelings, he has really problems like reminiscing about all of this stuff. She's running the show. To me, I look at her that she's describing everything, she's going through emotions, she's running the show. That's not somebody that is afraid or traumatized or has post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not an expert, but I can tell you that to face your monster, so to speak, probably she will freeze or something. She's totally like eloquent, just going. Here we go, let's go. Let's see what it's gonna happen. Man, I can't wait for the cross-examination, honestly. Ciao, Cesar. Oh, it's definitely about money. Well, you know, it's about like... I think those people have egos, huge egos. And they want fame and power, they want notoriety. And definitely Johnny Depp was a nice escalator to that status. I don't think that part is stressed enough. There is everything to gain. There was everything to gain for her to engage in a relationship with such a high-profile actor.
Your next question?
Thank you, Your Honor. And we're going to take you up to March of 2013. Can you describe your relationship with Mr. Depp during that month? And we'll start there.
I remember it was after a period of really, it was after a period of some peace, and then he in sobriety. Johnny was sober, drinking Beck's, and my dad, who was struggling with alcohol and drug addiction at the time, had fallen off the wagon. And
yes, this is live. This is live.
He said, "Why don't we send it? I want to send a picture to your dad as support, because my sister was upset with my dad." And so he poured a shot and kind of said, "Let's take a picture." I don't drink spirits, but I know that, you know, I kind of held up in that picture. It's kind of eerie because I just think it's bizarre. He had broken this long period of sobriety that I thought was going to be the end of him drinking forever.
Here we go.
Sounds foolish now, but I, you know, held up this kind of glass with him, and we sent the picture to my dad because, you know, I didn't know what else to do. And I remember thinking it was weird that he was drinking, and then the month got really crazy from that point on. It was a bit of a revolving door of accusations. He was accusing me of having affairs with, well, frankly, just one person. I had an acquaintance with somebody, and he was accusing me of being with them, and then he was accusing me of being with my friend, the one I had seen in Spain. I'm, you know, in these kind of arguments, nothing I do is working. Walking out of the room is me.
Hey, do you hear me now or not?
For me, you know, hey, where are you going? I'm talking to you. That it went from that to pulling me in by my arm, still shouting at me.
Guys, let me know if the audio it's good, both mine and hers.
By trying to tell him I'm not sleeping with this person and I'm not sleeping with that as soon as it seemed as though I had convinced him with one, there was somebody else he was sure I was sleeping with, and it was a revolving door at the time. A painting I had hanging on the wall, done by my ex, who's an artist. That was one day he.
Guys, I need to know which audio it's low, my audio or the video audio. Please leave a comment. Let me know. I can fix it probably.
Trying to convince him. So March started with this picture of him doing a shot, and he's kind of saying, "Let's send it to your dad to show support." And what I remember of March is just like an almost. It's almost like it was a never-ending fight. It was just there were breaks in it. What kept me in it is because I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, the sobriety shoe, if you will. I kept waiting for him to get to the point where it's not supportable or anymore, and he's done with it, and he's ready to get clean and sober again because there commences a
I think my audio should be fine now.
Or joy. And it was one fight after the other, March.
So let me start with the painting incident. Please tell the jury what happened on that particular incident with the painting.
As I mentioned, the painting, which had been hanging there for months, one day he kind of stayed up doing cocaine, just drinking, doing cocaine, music, which is not in and of itself that weird in my relationship with Johnny at this point, like he stays up and keeps weird hours and smokes and stuff. But he was drinking brown liquor and doing a lot of cocaine, and it was like, it became clear to me in that argument, if you will, that
Look how she goes through emotions. Look at that.
Effectively just taken, it seemed like, a turn and had decided that the painting was an offense that he could not forgive me for. It meant I was having an affair with my ex-partner, whom I had already split, and it made no sense to me. So I'm trying to kind of quell the accusations by saying, it's been there, and
wow.
What are you talking about? And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. And he was demanding I take it down. He eventually takes it down and tries to burn it, but it was unsuccessful, luckily, because he was not. He wasn't with one of those normal, what do you call them, Bic lighters. He wasn't very successful at doing it while drinking, to the extent he was. But I remember it was this kind of ridiculous fight. Like, didn't feel like it needed to be an argument, but it seemed like nothing I could do, nothing I could say. I tried leaving.
He just doesn't want to look up. I really find telling the way she is recollecting and emphasizing with the voice, with the intensity of the voice, remarking on stuff in a way that it's really theatrical. Actually, this is not the way you recollect something that is painful. Honestly, I might be wrong, but she seemed rehearsed.
Which is already admitted into evidence, I believe, Your Honor.
Yes, 161 with redactions.
Thank you. And I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit 160.
Exactly. Zavenshka, it's true. She sounds like as if she's telling somebody else's story, like reading a book, remembering a book or something.
Do that?
I do.
And the first one is from you to Mr. Depp. Just thought you should know there exists a book.
Crazy,
is
man.
To you? Is it to Mr. Depp from you, or it's vice versa?
It's Johnny texting me.
Just thought you should know there exists a book titled Disco Bloodbath. And then you say, we need that book. And you say, is this about last Friday night by any chance?
This is comedy.
How can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? And I'm not going to repeat the rest of it. Could you tell the jury what happened on that Friday night?
It's comedy. Jesus, you gotta watch out also what kind of text you send.
Okay, so
Everything can be seen in a different context.
incidents in March. I believe this one happened in the Eastern Columbia building, which is one of Johnny's penthouses. They're in downtown, so a different part of Los Angeles. And we'd sometimes go there. I remember he was accusing me again of sleeping with this artist, this musician who I'd never slept with. I was denying it. I barely knew the person. And then he was accusing me of sleeping with my friend in Spain. And I remember nothing I could do. He like called this person on the phone and screamed at him.
Yeah, I agree.
He
Lady
speak
Pino.
English, so he was really confused as to what he was being yelled at by Johnny. But I remember those were the accusations. That was the fight. But it was one to the next accusation. And I remember I was kind of doing that juggling act. I was in one of these fights, I believe it's this one, in his downtown ECB, we call it, loft. And we're in the kitchen living room area, and he backhands me. And, it was, he wears a lot of rings.
The thing that I'm amused about is the fact that
My lip went into my teeth.
she keeps saying like she was backhanded and everything and slaps, yet there's only, I think, one picture of her having like a bruised cheek, which doesn't even look real.
As hard as it is,
She never thought
as
to
hard
make
as it is
pictures.
to explain this.
Here we go, more crying. Let's go. Here we go. Here we go.
I was so caught up in the relationship and also very occupied in defending what I only could assume he believed, these accusations, that I didn't internalize, like I didn't make that big of a deal of it. I kind of pride myself on being tough, and I don't make a big deal out of smaller injuries. And I know that sounds horrible because and hard maybe to understand, but I make my best way to cope with it is I kind of minimize it.
She just doesn't sound
make sure no one
authentic. It just
Sure
doesn't
does,
sound
yeah.
authentic.
I'm tough and can't knock me down, and I make a joke of it, clearly. Make light.
I'm going to, Michelle, if you can take this one down and bring up 170A.
Look how quickly she goes through changes.
In March, Amber, where you sent a picture to your mom.
Yes, this is
It's like she knows when she has to be sad,
2013.
when
I
she has
sent
to
you a
lighten
video
up a little
about some of
bit.
the craziness, and
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain as to what she may have texted. All right, next question.
Without saying what you said in the text, explain why you were sending it to your mom.
I was reaching out. I was very lonely in what I was living in, and I wanted help. I wanted advice, help. I just wanted to talk to somebody and figure out how I could make this stop.
And is this a picture that you took of yourself in March of 2013?
I did.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 178.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 178 evidence. You can publish the picture.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's see. Is it the same picture?
And how did you sustain that bruise, Amber?
I had thrown Johnny slapped me. I walked away from him, and that made it worse. We got into a shouting match. And he kind of did this thing with his body where I could tell he was gonna hit me again. I picked up I remember it kind of like a little pot, not a pot, but like a vase. And I remember I got away from him enough as he reels back. I threw it in his direction, and actually managed to get away before he got me. He grabbed me by the arm, and he kind of just held me on the floor, screaming at me. I don't know how many times he hit me in the face, but I remember being on the floor of my apartment.
Where are the pictures? Where are the
and
pictures?
I remember thinking,
You got the picture of the bruise on the arm. And where are the signs on the face? If that's the result of that incident. Here we go, crying. Look at that. Masterful. Masterful.
Thank you, Michelle. And if we can, and just to start, it's at 3/23/2013. If we can scroll.
Masterful.
Scroll up. This is a text
Look how
message
quickly
that's
she
gonna
snapped
be
out of
released,
it.
correct?
Look at that.
yes, it is.
She snapped out of it in no time.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to hearsay.
Let's wait until we get to the spot. All right, and is this the picture that you sent to your mom on 3/23/2013?
Here we go. Now she gets back into it again. Look at
Yes,
that.
it is.
Your Honor, I'm gonna move the admission of 170, just that picture that's on the text. Along with,
With no words?
well, it says from 2 weeks ago on it.
Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
Well, I really hope the jury knows how to look through this.
2 weeks ago, can we admit it then? And then just have the showing that she sent it to her mom.
May we
for the
approach,
date?
Your Honor?
Okay.
Look how quickly she snaps out of it. She was biting her lips, showing sadness. Now she went deadpan again. Look at that. Look at Johnny for a moment, looking around. Oh man. I know it's a gut feeling. And again, here we're not, we are not a jury, we are not a judge. Just a gut feeling. And I will be any day of the week on the side of a victim, woman, male, every day.
All right.
But I just get the feeling this woman, she's a snake. Like real good snake.
And
Might regret what I'm saying, but
and that's the picture you sent to your mom
Yes, it is.
on March 23rd, 2013.
Yes, it was from a previous fight,
Okay.
the bruise.
All right. Now, did you have any other altercations in March 2013?
sorry, Stormy, to hear
Yes,
about your abuse. I'm sorry to hear that.
we had a couple of these fights in Orange that were.
Look, observe how
around this
quickly
time, one of which
she
was
will
about
change.
the painting.
And I know I've interrupted you now twice on that, but I realize the jury doesn't.
See, she smiles. Look how quickly she does all her thing. Look at that.
Sorry, Orange was my apartment that I kept in Los Angeles at the time.
And it was an apartment. What type of an apartment?
I rented the top of a duplex, so it was a house, with the landlord living on the bottom floor. I rented the top floor.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. Now, please continue with the painting. I'm sorry.
It seemed like nothing I could say to Johnny would convince him. He wanted me to remove the painting.
I think the jury is very important for this case, especially in those civil cases, if I am not mistaken, in the States especially. I think the jury is very important. They might be probably the more important thing, but I could be
So I
wrong.
held out, he just started, I mean, he just drank more and did more cocaine. And I woke up the next morning, I think it was on the 22nd or the 23rd. I woke up in the morning and the breakfast table was like cocaine and booze. And I realized that that I wasn't going to be able to talk I wasn't going to be able to talk our situation down. I wasn't going to be able to talk him out of it. And he was just so convinced that I was.
Here we go. Look at
fighting
that.
with him
Look at
or-
this.
or-
Look at
or
this.
The reason that he wouldn't leave the house, and he had something to go film that was important, and there were important people waiting for him. And I remember people were reaching out, his assistants, his manager's sister, you know, everyone was wondering where he was. And I kept feeling embarrassed and unable to move this person out of my house. I couldn't calm him down. I couldn't change. He was just so intent on me admitting the details of this affair that I wasn't having. And me pointing out that the cocaine wasn't making his situation any better made me the bad cop. Then I'm the nag. So eventually I called my sister. He had a kind of a buddy-buddy relationship with her at the time, and at the time she occasionally did cocaine. I didn't, but she did. So I was like, hey, come take over. You know, maybe you can buddy
I
him and
don't
take
believe
over
for a
his
second
house.
that she never did drugs together. Not 1 second.
And she did. I remember his assistants trying to get him out. Like, we eventually in the evening, I think early evening, he finally agrees to leave, but I can't tell our relationship.
Yeah, she's definitely
Still
overacting.
is
She's
one
definitely
thing
overacting.
where he's just to sleep it off, and
Doesn't feel authentic
it's gonna go
one
back to
bit.
normal sobriety, sorry kind of phase.
Wait, ciao.
And
Gaurav.
he
Nice to have you in the chat.
was still upset, but like seemingly calming down. So I agreed to go with him. He wanted me to go to the shoot. I had plans, so I kind of reluctantly agreed, but didn't want to set anything off.
Wow.
I didn't want to engage anymore. I didn't want to do anything that could be perceived as antagonizing him or engaging.
You antagonize him all the time.
We grab the dogs, we get in the car, we're on the way there, we're headed up Sweetzer's the street. It's a major street that leads up to Johnny's houses. He effectively owns the end of the street. It's like a cul-de-sac. So we're nowhere near his home, but we were driving up this street, and he has the window down, he's smoking. It wasn't all the way down, but you know, he's constantly smoking, and at some point he starts howling out of the window and then grabs two small dogs. Well, one was Johnny's dog and one was my dog, but he grabs, if I remember correctly, Boo, his dog, slightly chunkier teacup Yorkie, and he grabs this teacup Yorkie and holds Boo out of the window of the moving car, and he's howling like an animal while holding the dog out of the window. And everyone in the car, I'll never forget it, everyone just froze.
Here we go. Look at this. Look at the performance.
I didn't did anything. And I too was like torn as to what I should do, because I didn't want to do anything to cause him to react, drop the dog. You know, it was just this eerie moment where he's howling and holding this animal outside of the car window. And more than that weird memory is
I mean, the volume is high. I don't know. I think only you are having this problem.
not really
Swapney.
like no one really kind of did anything.
The other seems to hear me.
I eventually kind of pulled his arms gently back into the vehicle and kind of got the dog back on the seat, and we continued driving, but no one
Look at that.
did.
Look at that. Look at that.
It just kind of avoided dealing with it. We get to the place, the house where he was filming this thing that he was late for, as opposed for the day. And we walk in. Meanwhile, I've been bombarded by text messages and calls and conversations with everyone seemingly so stressed about.
Objection, hearsay.
Just don't tell us what somebody else said, just what you observed.
I understood everyone was stressed. They seemed stressed to me about the tardiness. Where is he? Let's get him there, so we get him there. And no one reacts when we get in. I mean, we walk into this house where everyone was waiting for him, and everyone smiles and says, hey, boss.
Objection, hearsay.
Okay,
Sorry.
Let's, Michelle, can we pull up 167?
Look how quickly she snaps how to and in and out of the story.
I think we don't say 167B is already in, right? Oh, it's 8, okay, then go to 4.
Oh man, Nerk Black, I totally agree with you. Johnny Depp definitely fell for a young, troubled spirit, and I feel sorry for him. It's also, of course, his fault.
167A was in evidence as a plaintiff's number.
It's like it happens. It's almost like the oldest story ever. The older guy that falls for the younger, pretty girl, and yeah.
Your Honor, I don't think it's this version of the photograph that's been admitted, so it's a
different version.
It's a
Same
different.
photograph, but a little different. Is that what we're?
It's not the same photograph.
Okay, not the same.
Right, well
then we'll go with it. Then what
Okay.
number is it?
Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
Please tell the jury what it is.
It's a picture I took of my breakfast table that morning.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 167A.
167A objection.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
Wow. The more I listen to this woman, the more I don't believe her. It's unbelievable. It's just like, I swear to God that I really want to stress the fact I'm not like a manosphere type of guy. I just want the truth.
7A is in evidence. You can publish.
So may we publish that? Thank you.
But the more you listen to this whole like sham, the more you realize.
And you said that you took this that morning. Is that correct?
It's like it's building lies on top of lies on top of lies, because now it's too late. It's too late to go back,
That's Johnny's drug box. I've seen it used for pills, but at the time it was bags of coke, like dime bags of coke.
Okay. And what are these white lines on the table to the left of that box?
It's funny because the white lines are standing next to her bag. That's very interesting. That's her bag. And the cigarette are on the other side.
Yes, they're different.
She most likely was doing the coke. Look at that. She has her bag just on the side there.
One in the back in the larger glass is, I believe at the time I was doing these tabs, or Baroka, that's what they're called, the little tablets. And anyway, I remember at the time that that's what I was putting in my water, because I just come back from France where they sell them. And then the brown liquid in the shot glass is Johnny's.
Sorry for the yawn. I already cannot stand this woman.
In the freezer. At the time, it was at that time, March 2013, I hadn't, I still didn't have the, hard line. I won't even keep that, in my freezer sort of attitude or posture with him. I wasn't that bold at the time, I didn't like it, but I didn't have that strength. I kind of, at that time, I think was doing things I trained poured out when I could.
There is no way she wasn't doing drugs together. There's no way.
What is that?
That's a doc kit. It's his prescriptions and cigarette, tobacco, weed, things like that.
Okay, and then above it, there appears to be a CD of some sort, DVD, something. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's the single. I believe is what it's called. The single he was making at the time. I think that's the song that they were filming a video for. If I'm correct.
Okay. All right. Now, did you end up sending a copy of this picture to Rocky Pennington that day?
I did. I sent it to my best friend at the time, and you know, I was like, "Look at my morning."
Objection, hearsay.
Okay, you can't say what you said, but you sent it to your friend, correct?
I
Let's
sent
go
it.
to 167, please.
Yeah, you sent it to your friends to show how cool you were. That's why you did that.
And is that the email in which you sent this picture to Rocky Pennington on 3/22,
Yes.
2013? I'd like to move the admission of the picture with the redaction of the message on it, with the top.
I mean, Johnny really cannot even look at her. Cannot even look at her anymore.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, so move those redactions, 167 in evidence with redactions.
She's looking at him. She's looking around. She's not afraid. She's not afraid. You can tell when somebody's traumatized and she has post-traumatic stress disorder. She's not afraid of them men. She's never been afraid of them men.
All right.
I'm not an expert,
Maybe published.
but I can tell you right here, right now, that woman, she's not afraid of them men.
All right, and
She's
this
never been afraid of them men.
text message, the email that you sent to Rocky with this picture.
That's not the behavior of a woman that she's afraid of a man or
Now
intimidated.
I'm going to
She runs circles around him.
Let's go to Hicksville. Let's tell the jury about Hicksville, May 2013. Can you tell the jury what transpired at Hicksville?
It is it's like a fancy trailer park.
You see how she brings in, like, you see how she changes the smile, like she like
We had made
it's unbelievable.
a plan to go there with friends. And
Like she's telling a story to kids, you know, emphasizing with the expression of her face.
mushrooms.
Look at that, look at that.
Sit by a campfire.
And in another
There's really
50
not a
seconds,
lot
she's
to
gonna cry.
do out there. It's like a getaway. We had made this plan, and it was going fine. It was like a, you know, kind of a party out in the desert, with a few friends and campfire and music, and I don't know who somebody brought MDMA. It was being passed around, and somebody who took it kind of was starting to feel the effects of it, I guess is the best way to describe. She kind of reacted in this way where when
Wow.
MDMA hit her, she kind of,
You did the same thing.
we were sitting around a campfire, all of us, and she kind of just leaned into me and put her, you know, head on my shoulder and kind of grabbed my arm. I took it, you know, to be the effects of the drug.
Oh, of course.
And
Look at her, look at her.
A mushroom cap, but was not feeling anything at the time. I don't remember feeling anything, because the night just kind of changed pretty dramatically, before I really felt anything of the effects of that. But that was the.
Oh man, this woman is unbearable. Fucking hell.
And as soon as she kind of did this thing where she leaned into me, Johnny
Here we go.
gets really activated. He gets really upset, and he starts. Well, at first she thought he was kidding too. She thought he was kind of making a joke. I think we all did. Everyone kind of responded at first, you know, like it was a joke. But he was like, "Hey man, what are you doing? You know, what do you think you're doing?" And she kind of giggled and kind of leaned into me more, and I knew in my body just instantly that it wasn't a joke.
Here we go. Now she gets to crying. Look at that.
So she's kind of still attached to my arm when he says it again to her louder. He says, "Hey man, you think you're touching my fucking girl? You think you're touching my fucking girl? That's my fucking girl." And he gets louder and louder, and she kind of did this thing half.
Johnny,
understanding
keep
what's going
your
on,
cool,
and she
man.
kind of
Johnny,
started to
keep your
cry,
cool, please.
But she kind of threw up her hands, and Johnny grabbed her wrist and kind of twisted it and pulled her into him and said, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist? Huh?" And he kind of held her, and she just
Such a bad acting, man. Such bad acting.
And she's crying, and
No
she's
fucking wonder
just
you never done any
denying,
movie.
understanding what was going on. I stepped in. I kind of taped Johnny's arm around him. Taped Johnny's hand, and
Oh, this is hard to listen to.
communicate.
This
I
is
don't
hard to
remember
listen
if
to.
he immediately was accusing me, or if it was sometime after. I wish I remembered, but we agreed that we'd go and talk about it in the trailer. So we walked to the trailer, and when
I
we're
waited
in
this
the
long to
trailer,
listen to her
Johnny-
talk,
By the time we get into the trailer, Johnny
and
tells
this
me
is
that
so cringe.
I had been
So
instigating
cringe.
like, you know, in asking for this, and that I had invited it, and that I hadn't been honest with him about my relationship with this woman. And I didn't really know her that well. I mean, I actually don't know her at all, but I had met her. And I remember in the trailer, he's accusing me of lying about it, and that I, you know, that I had something with her. I'm trying to diffuse that. I'm trying to calm him down, and he just turned all that. It seemed like he turned all that rage onto the trailer itself, and just started smashing things. He picked up something on the table and threw it right into the glass cabinet. He hit with his hand a wall sconce. He cleared the tabletop on the little fold down, like kitchen dining room area in this trailer. I mean, it's a trailer, so there's only so much you can do. And he's screaming at me, screaming at me.
Wow.
And I eventually go back into the bedroom area. He comes into the bedroom area. We had what I can only describe as it sounded like nonsense from him. It wasn't making sense, and I realized that he's just probably really high. Because it wasn't making sense anymore. It wasn't like a direct accusation. He wasn't hearing me when I was saying I wasn't involved, wasn't cheating on him, I wasn't secretly trying to engage this woman in some sort of sexual affair. And then it became clear to me he was like looking for something.
She's so incredibly well
I
rehearsed.
went into the bathroom.
So well rehearsed.
Come out,
She has no hesitation remembering all of this stuff.
and how long I've been hiding it. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "You know what I'm fucking talking about. You know what I'm fucking talking about. Be honest with me.
Look at her, look at her.
Where are you hiding it?" And he kind of like makes to look into the bathroom. And I gestured to the bathroom, which was to my right. I kind of like gestured to him, and I said, like, well, what am I hiding, and where am I gonna hide it? And we're sitting in this little hallway area outside of the bathroom, and he starts, you know, what it feels like patting me down, or saying he's patting me down. I can't recall, but he ripped my dress, the strap top part of my dress. I had just dyed this thing myself pink, and it's just one of those things. It's like, you know, that's my.
Look at
dress.
look at that. She's smiling and
He's
like
grabbing my breasts. He's touching my thighs. He rips
oh my god.
hair off.
She's going through the whole spectrum of emotion just on command. Look at that, look at that. Here we go.
proceeds to do a cavity search.
Here we go. Now they're gonna stop.
He said he was looking for his drugs, his cocaine, his coke.
And now she's gonna snap out of it. Look at this.
I was wondering how I
Few breath.
do cocaine.
She will get out of it. Look at that.
That was in and of itself causing problems in our relationship.
Here we go. She's out of it.
Why would I hide his drugs from like he was insinuating that I was doing it or something? It made no sense. And he was telling me we're gonna conduct a cavity search, shall we?
Wow.
Like, just shoved his fingers inside me.
He's winning. She's winning, man. She's winning. She's winning. Here we go. She can go on.
I'm staring at the stupid light.
She can go on.
You know, I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. Well, he did that.
We knew.
I don't.
Let's see how she gets out of it. Let's see.
I just.
So the next morning, what transpired?
I remember thinking that Johnny would
Wow.
change his mind,
Here we go. Out of it.
and it would be.
She's out of it already. See?
Yeah, I thought it would end differently. I kind of froze. I don't know how we went to bed that night. I don't know how I went to bed. I don't know how I slept. I don't know how we woke up. I don't remember having a conversation with him the next day. I don't remember
Fantastic.
talking to him about it or confronting him about it. I remember wanting it to be okay. I remember just wanting whatever fucking weird trip, whatever trip that was to end, you know, just to be over and for it to just go back to normal. And I remember my friends were out by the pool.
Wow.
Like,
Gives me
the
shivers
pool
to
in the
listen
center
to
of
this
the
woman.
trailer park, and I remember putting on my, just putting on my face and going back into this like crap, and I remember seeing my friends by the pool thinking they were just having a great time, and no one knew what was, I felt so lonely, like no one knows what's.
I can tell you this. She's gonna cry even more in the cross-examination.
Joke about how trashed the trailer got, and we had to get the manager, who started off furious that Johnny had wrecked the thing, and then he had this like black mesh not tank top, it was like a meshy kind of shirt on, and I remember he came into the trailer and looked around and was like, "Whoa, what happened here? Whoa." And Johnny.
Look how she goes into the character of the people she's describing, changing the emotions
It was just a kind of a
very
surreal
quickly.
experience, and it just went away. That just got fixed. We walked out of the trailer at some point. My dog stepped on a bee. We went to the vet and went on with our vacation. We actually went to another location after that, and then eventually went home. And
I agree, there's a lot of suffering out there, and like I said, I'm on the side of victims for sure.
Ask you to take a look.
Any day.
Bring up defendants exhibit
But
166.
I just a gut feeling, truly a gut feeling, this woman is just lying. And the sad part, you know what it is? The sad part is that after this whole theater, most likely Johnny will lose again. Because there will be always somebody in the jury that will buy this
Time
shit.
that you wrote an email.
Objection, leading, and hearsay, Your Honor.
Ciao Fatima.
all right.
There's always going to be somebody in the jury that buys this. I really fear that he's going to lose. She's so incredibly well rehearsed. She remembers details. She remembers things in such details that not even like it feels impossible to go through all of her like different interpretations of the different people involved, even getting into voice changes, you know, to emphasize those characters. She really goes through the whole thing and describing things in sometimes too much details that a real person will not remember most of the time. I mean, that if it was real, most people wouldn't remember. This is something that I find very suspicious. It's like really something that she's well rehearsed.
How are you feeling about your relationship with Mr. Depp?
May we have the exhibit taken away from? Thank you.
By June, I was so torn. I was so in love with this person. Because when it was good, it was so good.
Look at her, look at her.
I felt love like that. At least that's how it felt.
Oh, man.
So much.
Oh, Jesus, look at that. Look at the more crying.
Like he recognized me, and I recognized him, and there was just something there.
Wow. Johnny, keep calm, man.
The love of my life.
Keep calm, Johnny. Keep calm, please. Just keep it together.
And he was.
Just keep it together, man.
He was. But
Please.
he was also this other thing.
I would have fucking snapped.
He was also this other thing. And that other thing was awful. Awful thing that would come out and take over, and it was, you couldn't see the Johnny I loved underneath it. It was this other thing. And no one told him, no one was honest with him, no one, you know, he'd pass out in his own vomit, he'd lose control of his body, his, you know, he'd lose control, and everyone would clean up after him. I cleaned up after him. I mean, this man lost control of his bowels, and I cleaned up after him. His security cleaned up after him, changed his pants in front of me. He would pass out his own sick. You know, and then he'd walk around saying he didn't have a problem. Until he did. Until he couldn't support it anymore, and he'd get clean, and he'd get sober, and then he was this thing.
Look at how she's smiling. Look at how she goes through emotions. It's frightening, man. It's frightening. No tears. Where are the tears? I see no tears. I know I sound so mean, but this is so cringe. I'm sorry, guys. This is so cringe.
And I recognized something in him. There was some part of my makeup and my background or something that I just got it. And I loved him and understood him. It just got so scary, the other part of him.
I literally seen not one tear coming out of their face.
I wanted to leave him.
Oh my God. What a performance.
I didn't want to leave him. I wanted to leave him. I wanted him to get better. And he expressed to me so many
I
times
knew
when
that
he
there was
said
going to be a lot of
he was
crying.
clean and sober. He
I
told
knew
me, "You
it.
saved my life.
I knew
Baby
it.
girl, you saved my life." Everyone else was saying that to me, and I believed it. You know, if everyone else was saying it, he was saying it. I thought, just like his other friends who had gotten clean and sober and stayed that way, his older friends, these rock stars that he hung out with that had like gotten clean and sober and they had 20, 30 years, something, you know, I thought, and Johnny told me he would be that person, that he was going to be that person, and I believed it. I had so much, I looked at that man twice my age, you know, I was 25, looking at this man twice my age, and I saw hope and like promise. I had so much hope.
She screwed him so bad, and she's still screwing him so bad.
Kids and growing old together, sort of hope.
She's going in.
Just for this one thing that he could do.
She's going in so much.
Clean and sober. And I believed it.
She's
And I
going
wrote
in
it
so
myself,
much.
among many letters to myself.
Objection,
Because I
hearsay.
thought,
All she did was refer to that she wrote it. She isn't saying what she said.
I'll rule for that.
Thank you.
Okay. I wrote that letter because I thought it would be read to him. I could read it to him. I could say it to him in intervention, in help, and he would later thank me for, as he used to thank me all the time for saving his life.
She's frightening, man. Like, really, like, you find somebody like this, you fucked. She's going so over the top that, it will be almost impossible for Johnny to come back to this, Because the only thing he can do is now to trying to find a way to say that all of those things are just lie that she's saying, which probably they are. But she's going in so much.
Johnny for over a year, maybe like a year and a half at this point.
You can almost feel that she's starting to believe in it herself, interacting.
Get to know these kids. I felt like I knew them already. I had his daughters, and Jack's. Both his kids' art on my fridge, and I had never even met them. Johnny brought them over one day and kind of given them to me, and I had them up on my fridge because I felt like I knew them. Just how much he talked about them, and
on your fridge.
I finally got to meet them at the Lone Ranger premiere at Disneyland. Summer 2013.
So then I'm gonna jump to, and it's not much of a jump, to June 26, 2013.
Oh, definitely money and control for sure.
To Russia. You, Johnny?
I'm gonna get some water, guys, in 1 second.
Tell the jury about that particular event.
Well, that was the first and last time I ever decided it would be a decent idea to do drugs with Johnny. I did MDMA
That was not the only time you did MDMA with Johnny. You did drugs with him.
I just had never
100%.
against, obviously, the cocaine had been
Yes, we all believe that.
problem. I was very much against using cocaine. I was against the drinking, supportive of the sobriety, but I'm 26 maybe, ish, and I wanted, I had never heard of anyone making MDMA like what I had.
Isabella, for sure, for real. I can make more tears too by yawning, you're right.
I never knew anyone to get violent on it, and I thought, well, this is a relatively contained environment. Maybe this will be different. Maybe I can be a good cop and be part of the, I don't have to be the lesbian counselor all the time, as you would say. I can maybe be the fun girlfriend. And I learned the hard way that was not happening.
So what happened?
Well, we took MDMA. I took a capsule, psychic powder in a capsule. I took a capsule, and Johnny took several. I didn't count, but it's very different when you see someone take one versus a handful of something. But nothing seemed to set any alarm bells off, and things were going fine until the flight attendant got involved. The flight attendant came by, was engaging with us. I don't think that they're really. It felt like it was before the effects of the drug took over. So it was relatively quick, soon after we first took our dose.
Yeah, she just did drugs
The flight attendant,
this time, right?
Offered her some. She of course said no, and then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine, so she acquiesced and took MDMA with us. And within a few minutes go by, and the same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman Kelly Sue who I told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just like MDMA friendly, was kind of.
I don't know. I don't know MDF friendly what you mean.
Comfortable with me physically. She kind of leaned into me and kind of sat on the arm of the chair I was sitting in. I mean, after all, she's on drugs, and Johnny grabs her hand and tells her not to touch me, and she kind of reacts in a way like defending herself and was trying to.
Well, he knows you're bisexual.
And, grabbed her by the wrist and slammed it down.
Maybe you were interested in the flight attendant as well.
And I remember thinking, I've heard this before. And that was a pattern that would repeat itself a few times. These things would happen in these kind of cycles where there'd be a certain element that would get filtered.
She gives so many details that feels unbelievable that she will remember with such clarity all those details.
He grabs her wrist and he tells her to break her wrist. She cries instantly, denies it, is so apologetic. Eventually, he lets go. She goes to the front of the plane where the flight attendant.
All of a sudden, now we have even stories that Johnny is abusive against other people, other women. Wow.
We land in Russia, and I don't really remember, I don't recall any violence on the plane between Johnny and I, but I remember feeling this tension because I was wondering when it was gonna aim at me. Because he had this particular thing about,
yeah, they're doing MDMA, and she fucking recalls all of this. Wow.
So I was feeling nervous, anxious, and I remember we had a very quiet ride. At least I didn't say anything.
I've done mushrooms, and I definitely remember the trip. But I definitely don't remember the details.
Of effectively having engaged that, caused that. I of course deny it, point out what I thought was obvious, that, we'd given her drugs, it wasn't an affair, and I'm trying to argue and defend myself at the same time, and at one point, Johnny just shoves me, shoves me hard. And I fall back onto this glass table. I catch myself on the table. I don't know how some furniture got knocked around. There was I'm trying to stand up for myself. I'm trying to stand up, literally. I'm not, at this point, I don't even try to hit back or try to run. I'm in this hotel room trying to do my best to fight mostly the verbal accusations, but also I try to stay on my feet, At some point, Johnny whacks me in the face, and I don't even...
Robert, I agree with you. Like, she remembers details in such clarity that it's so suspicious.
No awareness of my nose or anything. I don't remember thinking that. I remember...
It's like she's written down the whole story, and she went through it over and over again.
I just remember wanting him to realize what had happened. I wanted him to kind of snap out of it. I wanted him to care. I wanted
Here we
him
go.
to realize what
Here
was
we
going
go.
on, because
More crying.
I felt like he wasn't aware. There was this sense that he didn't know what was going on. Again, I don't know how much the drugs or alcohol is a part of this, but I remember crying.
Oh man, I want to see the cross-examination so bad.
I don't hear him in that room. I remember we had been arguing in the main room, but I went out to the hallway, which is where I presume he walked out, and his bodyguard, Jerry Judge, was in the hall, And I don't recall seeing Johnny in the hallway, but I remember seeing Jerry Judge, who gestured to my
Objection,
nose.
hearsay.
She's just saying gesture, he hasn't said anything yet.
All right, gesture's fine. I'll overrule the gesture. He gestures to my nose and holds out his handkerchief, like a cloth handkerchief.
Robert, I agree. I wonder who is the Ghost Rider. You're right.
Instantly felt.
It's like they literally wrote the entire script, probably with the doctor that she hired in 2019 to be coached, most likely.
Just really embarrassing, and I went inside the room.
What if
Feels like she's really going through the whole stereotypes of the dynamics of such incidents, because most likely she was coached. I don't know, I'm just speculating, but I really find it hard. I don't know why, but I just find it hard to believe this woman.
The hotel room, and it as embarrassing as it is, I remember just wanting Johnny to say sorry. I wanted him to realize it. It's so stupid, but I like the emotional part. I just wanted him to acknowledge that this was that he could hurt me, And
The overacting is so
I wanted
weird.
it to be okay.
It's so bizarre.
I was interested in this flight attendant. I didn't want him to think that I was capable of cheating on him. I was in love with him. I just wanted things to be okay.
Let's take you to July 9, 2013. Did there come a time that you went to the Bahamas?
I'm telling you,
On a yacht with Johnny and his kids?
Well, it's less like a
Johnny can lose
to
this.
Bahamas, to his island. He was selling the yacht to J.K. Rowling, and he wanted to kind of have a goodbye trip on the yacht, so it was docked off the island, and I went with him and his kids, who I quickly developed a bond with and loved, and we brought a friend along with us, I think, to kind of help, and yeah.
Okay. Tell the jury what happened on that trip.
Johnny was upset that he had to sell the boat, and he was off the wagon again, but he didn't want to tell his kids, so he was hiding it from them. He was putting it in coffee cups, and
She knows where the cameras are, for
He
sure.
was upset, he was emotional, and it just that's how he dealt with it.
I find it so amusing the way she goes through emphasizing with the acting all the different areas of the story.
Young, just like maybe 14.
It's just not realistic.
She started to get panicky and started asking questions about his drinking.
Objection, hearsay.
Yeah.
Without saying what Lily Rose was saying, please continue on.
Keep
State the objection.
keep
She was asking me questions about the drinking.
keep
And
his
it's very
children
upsetting.
out of this.
Yeah, you can't say what Lily Rose said, but
Yeah.
you can tell gestures, you can tell, and you can say what you and Mr. Depp said, okay?
Sorry. So she was upset, and Johnny we were with the kids, and he kind of threw himself off the boat in a half playful way, like a dead fish kind of way. I don't know how to
Yeah, I agree with
describe
you,
it.
Marie. Of course, there's so many differences, but
We were on a
she's
like
so
small
sharp
boat,
in remembering all of these things
and he's jumping.
that somebody with post-traumatic stress disorder, I think, will freeze.
his
Honestly,
chest forward way, like it looked a little scary, like not something somebody would do if they're completely.
She's
okay,
manic.
it was
she displays to me like the behavior of somebody that is manic.
off the edge of the yacht,
She can go
into the
from
water, and then at one point,
she can go from one emotion to another, like this, bam.
the way his body fell into the water, and Lily Rose started to cry and expressed to me that she
Objection,
was
hearsay.
upset.
Yes. When is the cross-examination starting?
You can say, you can expressions or observations, but you can't say what Lily Rose said.
So Lily Rose is crying, and then the crying becomes like a panic, like almost like a panic attack. Like rapid breathing, crying, lots of questions, and I'm holding her, kind of comforting her, and Johnny comes in, and within a few seconds, I realized that he, kind of shifted his attention on me, and then he seemed very angry. He asked Lily Rose to leave. Lily Rose
Hey, ciao,
leaves,
Anis.
looks at me, leaves, crying, and Johnny, I don't remember the words he used, but starts accusing me
Victor,
of,
I agree with you.
like, telling
All
me,
those different expression that she does is so suspicious. It feels so unnatural.
Drunk in front of his kids. I hadn't done that. I was actually trying to protect Johnny. It didn't feel like my place at all to share that with his daughter or anyone at the time other than adults.
She's totally in control of the room. That's the thing. She's really in control of the room. I said it before. She's not afraid of this man. She's not afraid of the man standing few feet away from her. Not one bit.
Accusing me of doing this thing and of making them aware of his that he was drinking again. And he slams me up against the side wall of the bedroom of the cabin. We were in the bedroom this whole time, but up against the wall of the cabin, and slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could fucking kill me. And that was an embarrassment. I was embarrassing. It was embarrassment. This whole thing was a joke. All embarrassment.
It really feels like she just
And
stepped into a character, you know?
I'm very, very, very much in love with this whole family now. And he's saying I'm embarrassing to him. And that's
Wow.
somehow stuck in me more than the I could fucking kill you. It just sounded like hyperbole. It sounded like something he was just saying, but the names that he was calling me were kind of just pushing me up against the wall by my neck, hurt my feelings. It hurt. When I communicated with
Isabella,
myself,
I agree with you. No wonder she's in trouble. She doesn't get roles.
what she told me, but
Oh man, poor Johnny. Poor Johnny is like really suffering inside. Look at his face.
of the boat or off of the island. So we leave the boat, go to the landing of a part of the island, or maybe it was a different island. We had to get
She's
to.
so
We take off. I'm holding Lily Rose in my. I'm literally
well organized in her thoughts.
Crying, we're lifting off, and Jack ended up not coming with us at the last minute. He stayed.
Like literally, feels like she's just like at a rehearsal, and she's giving the performance, from the script that was given to her.
That had happened. I still felt awful leaving. I felt awful leaving him. I also felt like I had done something wrong. Like he was mad at me. I wasn't sure, what I had done, but I remember not being.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the kids were really into her at all.
Barely coherent, barely, and I'm holding his daughter crying.
And let me just stop you for a moment. Michelle, can you pull up Defendant's Exhibit 180?
Look, when she's interrupted, look how quickly she goes deadpan with the face. Look at that. Look how quickly she changes emotion.
And then we're going to ask you to take a look at 180.
She looked and she looks at the judge. She's asking for. She's looking for like.
Do you recall these?
Yes, I do.
And are these the text messages?
Yes, that's what he was sending me while I was taking care of his daughter.
She looks around for like seeking for comfort. Like for receiving some kind of pity from the judge, from the jury. Look around for validation. See, she looks at Johnny. She looks at all the jury one by one. Look at that. Looks at Johnny again. She's like, I got you. I'm not scared of you. That's the face.
Your Honor, I'm about to go into another event. Should I keep going?
I mean, that's fine. Do you think this is a good point
This
to
is
break for
probably-
the day?
I think it's probably good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and conclude for today. Again, do not read anything about this case. Do not do any outside research, and don't discuss it with anybody. Okay? Have a good evening. We'll see you in the morning. Okay?
Look how she's gonna smile to the jury. Now I'll show you. Look. Come on, give us a little smirk.
And again, ma'am, since you're still in the stand, you cannot discuss your testimony with anybody to include your attorneys. Okay?
See? Little smirk.
All right. We'll see you in the morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
See, little smirk. Here we go. Seeking a still validation from the judge. She received all the attention that she demanded. Oh man, the bad part about this, look at that. She's done. Boom, let's go. Boom, done. Good performance. Wow, I'm sad to say that. I'm really sad to say that Johnny can lose this. Wow. I would love to hear all those women what they think honestly about this performance. I'm so sure that the 90% of the women in that audience is look at how she's smiling there. Look at how she's smiling now. Look how she stepped quickly out of the character of pain and whatever she was going through, like on command. Look how she's smiling. And of course she turned the shoulder because, you give a great performance. We saw you smiling right there. We saw you. Now she's giving the shoulders. Fantastic. Fantastic performance. Wow. I'm not an expert, but I can tell you that this woman, it's a textbook narcissist. I mean, on the word, on the vocabulary at the voice narcissist, there should be her picture for sure. If there isn't a picture for the narcissist, they should put her picture right there. Frightening. Absolutely frightening. Jesus. The way she had all those micro emotions going while she was telling the story. And of course, I might sound harsh because, okay, you know, we are not a jury here. I'm just siding here, okay? But honestly, I can also eat my word if I would be wrong. So far, I really have the feeling that he got framed. This guy got framed so bad. And one thing that I also believe that she probably did what she did, probably the op-ed to receive attention for the movie, riding the wave of the Me Too movement. But probably she didn't think that would get to this extent, you know? And of course she didn't care much for Johnny because she was already out of their relationship mentally. So she didn't give a fuck if, you know, he would be ruined or cancelled, because what she was worried was just her career. And so that's why she wrote the op-ed in conjunction with the premiere of her movie because she was just thinking about her career. It's really difficult to believe. It's really difficult to believe all of those things. Really, it's really hard to believe. I just find it hard to believe. And this thing got out of hand, and then when it gets out of hand, you have to keep running, and then they hired somebody to basically get an insight on all the facets of dynamic of domestic abuse, being coached, so that she could be prepared to confront a trial just in case, or a defamation suit. And I know, like, of course, we're speculating here, but the amount of details, the way she recalled, the way that the psychiatrist was so biased, even the lawyer called her out on the fact that when she was testifying, she always used the pronouns she, her to assess the abused, and the pronouns he, him for the abuser, underlying, suggesting that, of course, every time there is an abuse, it's always carried out by a man, and the woman is always the abused. So, to me, this really feels like something that got out of hand, and now they have to try to run with it. And this whole like micro expression, getting into character, even mimicking the voice of the people she's recalling while she's testifying, feels so incredibly suspicious. Because of course you can tend to do that to a degree, but the overacting is so obvious in all those micro changes so fast. And the thing that I also find incredibly suspicious is, if you notice, every time she's stopped by the lawyer or by the judge, whoop, she immediately gets like reset, to baseline mode. And then again, she goes through the story, and then there is the escalation towards the emotion of the crying and the pity and the trying to, almost like be pitiful, so that she can gain like the sympathy of who is around her, of course, and get the people around on her side. And then she goes to baseline again as soon as another question is asked. It would be interesting to hear an expert on behavior and mannerism. But intuitively, when I look at this is the sense that I get. Of course, you could argue this is probably a very expressive person. That's how she talks. But to me, that felt cringe and suspicious AF. Yeah, Susan, I agree. I mean, of course, she has to counter-sue him, so that's going to be another suit, like another trial, I think, if it happens. So it's not so quick. But like I said, I really have the feeling that Johnny could lose, because there's always going to be somebody in the jury that buys this, She went so over the top that almost becomes feels like that it becomes a daunting task for the lawyers of Johnny Depp and Johnny Depp actually to go there back if they have to counter testify. I don't know how you say that, but if there is a calling back of both Johnny Depp or some other witness to say that everything that she just said, it's not true. And then they have to counter explain why it's not true. She went in so well and so over the top with an array of details and everything that becomes like, what do you say? Actually, if I listen to this, I can tell you that Johnny lost. Of course, I'm not an expert. I have no idea, because there are all kinds of laws and things in place to see and check and judge. So I might be completely off. But when you look at this, you really think like, wow, how he's gonna get out of this. You know, like I always say, you even when you want to give the benefit of the doubt, you want to give the benefit of the doubt to this person. And the way she describes Johnny is like this guy that in a span of 3-4 years or so, all of a sudden became this utter monster, this almost psychopath monster that does nothing but just backhanding her, slapping her, kicking her in the ass, controlling her, like abusing her verbally and psychologically. And this guy has never done that before. I was honestly just thinking the other day, Johnny Depp has been with some wild women. And, would be interesting to know a woman like Kate Moss, what she has to say about Johnny Depp, Like they were together in a time where they were probably both so young and extremely wild, probably like doing drugs and all kinds of wild stuff when you're young and famous and successful and rich. And yet it seems that nothing has emerged of this time that he was a jealous abuser, and he was with the fucking top model, one of the most famous top model that we have had in the 90s. Oh man, it's like I was just thinking the other day that, so it's like, wow, this guy has had some wild relationship in the past, and none of those women has come forward to say that this guy was just a piece of shit or an asshole or an abuser. I mean, honestly, you don't just wake up one morning and become an abuser. It's just not how it works, in my opinion. It's just not how it is. Definitely Johnny was abusing himself, but I think that's it. He was abusing himself, But I'm really looking forward to hear the cross-examination here, what they're going to do tomorrow. She definitely played an incredible part. Like, wow. Better than I expected. I knew the moment I saw her on the stand, I knew that there would be some crying. I knew it. And I can tell you now, there might be more crying tomorrow with the cross-examination. Wow. I wonder if Johnny's going to talk again. Ercia, thank you so much. I hope people realize men can also be abused, and it's never easy to get away from this toxic relationship because they're so addictive. Yeah, I agree. And again, probably Johnny was addicted to her because she was young and beautiful and wild. And probably, the thing that sometimes I find it so remarkable is that she probably knows how to convey all those details because basically she's talking about herself. And you know yourself very well. So you're basically projecting yourself into the story. And that's why she could probably draw all those details because you're literally talking about yourself. I mean, I want to trust his ex-wives and partners, which they have always described this guy as a very generous and kind. So I think he got manipulated. The relationship became toxic. And probably she kicked his ass more time than he probably ever reacted to her. When you look at, when you look at the way she just honed the room, on the stand, She was aware of everybody. She was aware of the lawyer. She was aware of the judge. She was aware of the jury and the audience. She was performing. She was in control of the room. Very clearly. And I just find it difficult to believe that if you are traumatized by a man that happens to be in front of you, just a few feet away, I find it hard to believe that you can just be so incredibly sharp and evoking and recalling all of those details. She wasn't afraid. I've said this before. She just is not afraid of Johnny Depp. She's not. She's in control of Johnny Depp. And she's in control of him even now. I found it really, I really, it was hard to watch the guy being unable to raise his eyes from the desk to look at her. She looked at him many times. If you look at the video, you see that she's scanning around. She's giving some dead look, moving away. She's looking at him. She's looking at the jury. She's not afraid of him. Never been afraid of him. All the other people that testified, of course, you can argue, okay, they have also an interest. They've either worked for Johnny Depp or they work for Johnny Depp still. But the thing that I find more so far, the thing that I still find absolutely obvious, especially the deposition of the two cops. There's not a lot of evidence. There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of self-reporting of stuff, but there's not a lot of pictures. Especially when they show this picture of her having like this bruise on the side of her arm here, right? That looked already also kind of old, if you ask me. Looked like was already healing, wasn't fresh. Usually a bruise, it's when it's fresh, it's a little more popular. Looked like a hold, like something that was healing. And then in the same moment, they talked about how he just in that instance, probably in that same incident that caused her bruise on the arm, she was basically battered by him on the floor. And my question is, how come you didn't take pictures of your face if he slapped you or battered you many times? Where are those pictures? You took the picture of the arm, of the bruise. Where are the other pictures? So how come there is this selective kind of, okay, I make a picture of this, I don't make a picture of that? That to me, that's fascinating. That's quite amusing. I guess he has some kind of borderline traces, but in this case, it seems much more of a passive. So maybe even when she's projecting, she's not lying completely. That just makes this trial more complicated. Yeah, could be. I don't know. I know by a fact it's totally uncomfortable to be in the same room of the person that attacked you. It's impossible to be like her. I know. I've been there. Botox. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's really telling that she is quite in control. She's quite sharp in her thoughts and in her delivery. As a person that it's been deeply traumatized, allegedly by the other guy that is standing in the room with her. So well, it's not a matter of supporting. I mean, I just I just don't believe her. I just don't believe her. the more I listen to this case, the more I just don't believe her. That's it. I'm on the side of the truth. But it's really hard to swallow. It's very suspicious. The way she's overacting and performing, it's very suspicious. Very, very suspicious. And again, it was really almost disturbing the way she also snaps out of it so quickly. You know, like literally at command. And you've seen her also at the end, as she was all of a sudden, just literally 15 seconds after stepping out of the stand, after she had gone through emotions and crying and then getting back together and then crying again and going back to baseline and then becoming serious again. Total a great performance, really. And then she just stepped out, went to the lawyers. You saw how she was just cheerful, smiling, and then she turned her back because probably she realized, oh shit, I'm laughing too much. And then she gave her back and walked out. Wow. I'm honestly a little bit speechless. I'm a little bit speechless about this whole thing. I mean, if there were videos of Johnny literally slapping her or kicking her or doing anything that she's accusing him of doing, there would be no doubt, of course. And it's funny that the audios that we have, and you just see Johnny Depp like throwing some stuff around a little bit and then removing himself from the circumstance once he realizes that it's being recorded, which is also not a behavior of somebody that is violent. He literally takes the phone, he puts it somewhere, and then he walks away from the room with the phone still on, and then she grabs the phone and she has time to put it off herself. And the guy is just already in the other room, that he literally removes himself from the circumstance, right? And I've said this before, to me that doesn't look like what a violent person will do. So you see just Johnny slapping some cabinets, and you have other videos that you just hear each other like screaming at each other. She's antagonizing him all the time. And this is the evidence that we have. For the rest, it's just self-reports. There are 2 pictures of a bruise on her arm and some reddening under an eye. And then actually there are more pictures of Johnny that is like totally blown up. You know, like a picture in the train going, whatever they were going there in the east, towards the east. Like literally he has like, looks like he just went through like a boxing match, you know, with the swollen ridge and swollen face under the eyes, like from somebody that's got punched a few times or got hit on the nose or something. So there's not a lot of evidence in that way. So there's a lot of talks. There's a lot of like self-report of all kinds of crazy stuff, and that's why it becomes unbelievable. Like literally, especially the Karen doctor yesterday, Dr. Hughes, that she was biased to a default, like to a point where it's like, you cannot be disinvested and be a professional taking a stand. You just can't be disinvested emotionally. You know, you have to, you're not there to decide whether or not to incriminate the other person, Johnny Depp. You're there just to assess like what's going on with your patient, or you know, like just share your experience. But she was so invested and biased that it was really hard to watch. So yeah, I mean, he most likely is lost. Honestly, when I see this today, and I think like he most likely is lost. And I feel sorry for him because it's always easier to believe a woman that she's crying, that she's doing the whole acting and the whole theater, than believing the guy. And the sad part is that if you have some videos of you calling her cunt or whatever name, that's already enough to say like, you see, you were also using slur against her, which can be seen as emotional abuse and so on and so forth. Yeah, he messed up. He messed up big time. Hello there. The doctor, yesterday the doctor was a joke. Was really hard to watch, really. I mean, and thank God today through the cross-examination, the lawyer was a little slower, but he got to the point, like how she chose to kind of underline certain things and ignoring others. To me, was very revealing, the fact that she was hired in 2019. So after the op-ed, after probably quite some time and things that happened already, she decided, AH decided to contact this doctor that she's an expert in the field to probably, go through it and see what they could do together. So it's not somebody that was like treating her as a patient before or through the relationship, It's somebody that basically stepped in way later to help her out, maybe with the case. And she was so emotionally invested, the doctor yesterday, really, really hard to watch. So tomorrow, I don't know for how long tomorrow it's going to go on, the testifying of the defense, but I guess there's going to be some cross-examination. But yeah, I mean, well, Queen Glitch, I can tell you that, after this performance she gave, it's, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for Johnny. It's going to be really hard, honestly. It's going to be hard to come back. He has to come back either with something that has not revealed yet, either audio or pictures or something they have up their sleeves or something, if it's even possible, because I guess probably would have come up already. Well, if you assume that she's a pathological liar, there is no end to the length she can go to keep this running, There is no end to it. She can just go on and on until she gets where she wants to be. Johnny, when he testified, he seemed much more calm and collected, and he wasn't emphasizing as much as she did, Actually, most of the time he was having real trouble speaking. And I don't think it had to do anything with drugs or whatever. I think the guy was stumbling because probably it was difficult for him to be on the stand and to speak. Amber, she didn't seem to have that kind of problem. She just was very good at emphasizing the right moment of her description with crying and then going back to baseline just 50 seconds after. She was absolutely ruling the room. Total control. Johnny didn't give me that impression. He really generally gave me the impression he had a hard time being there. He really had a hard time talking, revealing those things, sharing those things. I'm not a native speaker of English, and he's a native speaker. Probably he also has good diction and has good vocabulary, I assume. And it's him like fumbling and being tentative to try to express himself, you know, like it was sometimes also difficult to watch. Yeah, Maria, I agree with you. If the jury are like already like, let's say, you know, it's composed by activists, you know, like people like the Dr. Hughes, which they believe in women by default, for instance, then John lost it 100%. If the jury is made by people which they can see through the bullshit, because that's the general consensus, like really there is a gut feeling, you know, that there's something wrong here that seems like unauthentic, you know? Something that just is not authentic, especially when there is really baseless. There is no evidence, you know? Actually, the evidence point to the contrary. At least the audios, you know? The audios, they're quite clear, seem like they quite clearly suggest that she was antagonizing him and treating him like shit, basically. So what a thing, eh? What a thing also to show this to the public. I mean, I have to agree that it's also hard for them to recover from this, you know, because either way there's so much that it's been said, whether or not that's true, but still, like, it's literally like, you know, spilling the beans on each other, you know, stuff that nobody wants to have that in public. Can you imagine the stuff, something stupid that you have done once gets told on national TV in front of, like, this thing was followed. I don't think there is any YouTuber that streams and there is like 500,000 people watching. There were almost 600,000 people watching at one time. I think this is probably the biggest like show that it's been watched today, you know, the biggest live stream. It's insane. So, like, to recover from this is also difficult. I think Johnny's got so desperate, you know, so desperate. He's probably so much in pain, and that he's going through this because it's also a way probably for him to heal, you know. Because the truth is that if Johnny wouldn't have sued her, this trial would never ever happen, because she wrote the op-ed, but there were no charges against, if I remember correctly, there were no charges against Johnny Depp. So she just leveraged the Me Too movement to get the empathy and the sympathy that she wanted to get from the alleged abuse. So that probably would have benefited her, because the lawyers, the doctor, they were saying like, but do you know of any woman that has benefited? Of course you're going to benefit, especially in a landscape where right now there is a heightened sensitivity towards, of course, abuse, and rightly so. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's rightly so. But when it's true, of course, people tend to be absolutely more open and sympathetic towards that person. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be like a greater acceptance of that person in general, as a general consensus. So definitely you can think of a better opportunities coming, because also when you become a face of a movement, you know, like she was trying to be, becomes also a political thing. And you get asked either to talk or to be part of something. So there could be a positive outcome out of something negative, you know. But in her case, we don't know. Most likely the abuse wasn't real, And she leveraged that moment of heightened sensitivity, of this great correction that we are having in our society, overcorrection, going from honestly a society that it is always been more patriarchal. I agree. And that sensitivity definitely can benefit people, can benefit somebody. But still, after all of this, all of those things in public, to share all of those things, my side, your side, she shit in the middle of the bed, and she said this about him, he said this about her. I think either way becomes also difficult for an agent, for companies to hire those people, because even if Johnny loses this, the general feeling is that the people are on the side of Johnny, because somehow, like I said, I have myself a gut feeling that I don't believe this woman. And it's not that I don't want to listen to a woman saying that she's been abused. You definitely have to listen to somebody that claims that she's been abused. But in this case, you listen to all of this and you go like, there's something fishy here. That just doesn't feel right. So the general consensus is that people are on the side of Johnny, and even when he loses this, people are going to be on his side. But still, that does not mean that companies or, like the studios, whatever, they're going to be prone to hire him again. Especially because, of course, after all this washing in public their dirty clothes, of knowing that he did, whether or not it's true, but like she's so adamant in saying like he was doing coke in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and night. He was drinking and doing coke and so on and so forth. I was just doing MDMA with him because every now and then, of course, it's gonna be hard for the image, And I'm sure the studios knew that before, but probably was less public. So now after this, I mean, it's going to be also difficult for him and also for her, honestly, because people just cannot stand her. And honestly, I think that Aquaman, if she's in it for too long, I'm pretty sure the majority of people will not even go to watch that movie. So there is that. And in the end, all we want is the truth. And we're not getting very far because there is not much evidence. There's really not much evidence. There's a lot of self-report here, but not a lot of evidence. And she can win easily. That's how it is. I'm pretty sure she can win easily. If you don't get really like people which they're based like really even-keeled and careful, they will believe her. I agree, Family CS. I don't think she's a good actress. Actually, looking her on the stand was really so cringe. It was really hard to watch. So overly expressive, unnecessarily expressive. The circumstance did not ask for that at all. At all. She was addressing the jury with the mannerism of telling a story to people, like you literally reenacting a story, and that feels so unauthentic to me. I mean, what a trip, man. What a trip. I have no idea. This is what is this? The end of the third week? Or the end of the fourth week? No, tomorrow is the last day of the fourth week. What is it? Day 14. So this is like day 14 already. Wow. So it's like 4 days a week. So this is already the fourth week then, because it's 4 days a week. They go from Monday to Thursday. I don't think there's anything the Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I've never seen anything, at least with them. Mona, I also think that she's kind of a sociopath, a narcissist, honestly, and they really believe in the stuff that they tell. That's why it can be difficult for people to judge, because they seem so invested in what they're saying that they can confuse even a rational person. You know, they can really confuse also a rational person, that you go like, oh wow, she seems so believing into whatever she's saying. And again, for me, the thing that I find it very suspicious, it's also like the doctor, the Karen doctor Hughes, she described like stuff as if she was basically condemning Johnny Depp instead of reporting the data. And also that all the self-report that Amber did to her, and all the self-report of harm and the incidents, there are not medical records. They're not medical records. Like, where are all those medical records of bruises, of cuts, of doctors that have examined her when she got abused? You know what I mean? What are all those things? This I find very suspicious. For a person that it's claiming that she has been for 3-4 years or whatever together with this man that basically abused her weekly, and there is no medical reports over a span of years, I find that very strange. I find that very suspicious. POV, just leave the chat. Just leave the chat. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Mona. I mean, this guy has been always, like, for a good part of 40 plus years of his life, it's been a good man. And I can tell you by personal experience as well. Of course, everybody's different, but I can tell you by personal experience as well that being around people which they're heavily abusive of themselves, right? Even when they drink too much or they do too much drug, a person that it's inherently calm and I would say non-aggressive, you know, even under those circumstances, they will not change. They will not trigger them to be more aggressive or all of a sudden become a monster. I've seen that with my own eyes for years. I have direct experience with that. So I think even Johnny drinking a lot or doing drugs, it did not change his probably calm demeanor. You know, like this guy, it's been famous since he was like 22, 23, 24. It's not that just happened like, you know, this guy's been famous and wealthy for a very long time. So he was friend with Hunter S. Thompson. I mean, that guy was freaking drinking whiskey while sleeping. You know what I mean? I mean, that was a wild guy. And that was you could say that probably that was a toxic friendship, and probably there was more love there in between the two. And even like those two people, which they were so incredibly probably like abusive in terms of doing alcohol and smoking and drinking, yet they never caused any trouble, you know. So I mean, you will have probably report coming from everywhere if Johnny Depp was a junkie that was prone to violence. You know, you will have a report emerging from like 4 decades of this, and there isn't much. Yeah, Melanie, I agree with you too. Like that's what I was saying last time. There is definitely a chance that you meet the wrong person, and literally she gets the worst out of you. But then again, who is the abuser? If you are with somebody that literally gets the worst out of you, who is the abuser? You know what I mean? So I mean, the camera went off. Probably the battery died. Wait a sec. I think probably the battery died. So is the camera back? Sorry guys, I think because I was using a different camera, and this camera is not plugged directly in the electricity, so it's running on the battery. And I forgot that this thing runs on the battery, and basically just the battery ended. Sorry. Yeah, the Crimson. I am also looking forward to hear the cross-examination, really. And like I said before, probably there's going to be more crying involved in the cross-examination for sure. You know, we have the freedom here of speculating because, you know, whatever we say, whatever I say has no impact on a jury or anybody that can actually have an impact on the outcome of this thing. So we are free also to be irrational and emotional and siding with somebody because there is no repercussions on the people that actually have to judge and find the truth, you know. So let's just also remind that to each other or to the listeners, you know. So here you can be biased either way. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm definitely biased towards Johnny Depp because I believe in history more than the self-report. To me, that has more value. The history of a man that it's been always kind, generous, attentive, and professional for a better part of like 4 decades, you know, to me means something, to me has value. And on the other hand, a person that actually is being convicted of aggression towards an ex-partner, and you know, or already at a young age, she's young and she already had that going on at 20 something, you know. So that also gives you kind of an idea of who you're dealing with, you know. So definitely those two people, they got the worst out of each other, and definitely she probably was the fuel for that. She's playing the saint. I mean, to me, it was disturbing the way she was both like gaslighting him, like he was so great, he was the love of my life, like was saying all those nice things, just to make it more credible that she's, that she fell for the demon, and then all of a sudden she will go through the crying when she recalled, like, the alleged incident. I found that disturbing, man. I really, like, to me that looked like, if I didn't know what a narcissist looked like, by watching that, I got aware of it. You get a lesson on how a narcissist sociopath behaves. I found that very disturbing. Because again, that level of eloquence and control and micro expression, while the person that it's supposed to be your demon is standing like 3 feet, 4 feet, whatever, like 5 feet away from you, 10 feet probably away from you, seems kind of suspicious, Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, guys, tomorrow maybe we'll do a little bit more. I didn't know you could actually stream this. I was watching the live, and while watching, I thought, oh man, I gotta go live. This is too good, I was like, this is too good. I gotta share with the guys. I gotta share this. And I knew that she was gonna start to cry at some point. I knew it. I was certain of it. The PT party just worked so incredibly well. Tomorrow I have to check if there is like some kind of like, behavioral therapist or specialist that can describe, the mannerism and the movement, that can analyze those things. Of course, those things also, they're not 100% accurate or something, but they're at least they're interesting to listen to, Oh, I didn't know about Jerry Judge. Buonanotte, Rodrigo. She also beat her little sister. Well, that I didn't know either. Oh, so basically what you're saying is that the two people which can testify to her being abused are basically dead, both of them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Johnny looked absolutely exhausted. I've never seen him like that. When she was talking on the stand, like with his head down, like if you see, like if you go like, where is it? Like, let's see if we can. Like if you just see like this guy like all the time, like, does it run this thing again or not? She's talking and she just keeps talking, and he's there like with his face down. It doesn't work. Strange, it doesn't work, this thing. It's not loading. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter, guys. I wanted to share this with you. We have been quite some people in the chat, over 50. Now we're 75. That's very nice, guys. Really nice to have a nice chat like this. I mean, you can analyze this again, and she goes through all those micro expression. And look at Johnny. Johnny's just with the face down. And he was like that all the time. He's just listening sometimes, just saying something to the lawyers or whatever, probably to kind of, minimize the stress, probably making a joke, because sometimes he's kind of, smirking and saying something probably funny, probably to lighten up, because probably it's very painful for him to listen to all of this. It's so amazing. Like, you look at the mannerism without the audio, right? And like I said before, you really have a sense of a person, like she's in control of the room. She's aware of everybody. And she's controlling that emotion towards everybody, towards the people that she wants to affect. Like both the lawyer, the audience, and she goes back to the jury with all micro expression. Look at that. She goes through smiling, then all of a sudden she changes to like making a frowning, and like, look at this. Now she's gonna go through a like painful moment, recollection. Look at that. It's fascinating. Look at that. Like, without the audio, looks even more scripted, and again looks like absolutely in control of the room. She's like in control of everybody and demanding the attention of everybody. And look at Johnny Depp. He's there like with the face down. He's doodling probably on a piece of paper. He's listening. He just cannot look at her. It's been staring down the whole time. Like, it feels like this guy just doesn't want to be in that chair in that moment. Like, to me, it's fascinating because you would expect actually her to have a sort of mannerism like that, like being frozen in front of your abuser, in front of the person that has given you this much pain and sorrow and torment for many years. And she's totally in control of the room. Through all of the spectrum of emotion that she can summon, she's just in control of the room. And she's totally ignoring Johnny. Sometimes look at him. And again, I've said this before, I'm not an expert, but you look at this and you go, the first thing that comes to you is, she's not afraid of that man. She's not afraid of that man. She's completely immersed in her performance. He doesn't even know he's there. To me, that doesn't make sense. Somebody that has post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's been affected so much, as the other Dr. Karen was saying yesterday and also before, she's just controlling the room, like recollecting with an amount of details that it's incredibly suspicious. And John is just there face down, hard to swallow for him, just difficult to listen to this. And I honestly prayed, I said, please don't snap, don't do something stupid, just keep it cool, just keep it there, suffer, but just don't do anything, don't throw a bottle, whatever, I don't know, just keep it there. Because if you see this from a point of view of knowing that she's lying, and she's going in like with lie after lie after lie after lie, and she's countering with more lies, and you're there knowing the truth, for instance, it must be so fucking hard for that guy to be sitting there and to swallow all of this and stay calm, I mean, I find this cringe, and I don't even fucking know those two people. And look at this. You look at this, again, we look at this interaction without the audio. Look at all the expressions she's capable of summoning. Oh my God, that looks even worse than before with the audio. Unbelievable. Oh my God. I honestly I also hope this thing ends very quickly, because I also understood that. But again, what you're saying, it's exactly my point, which is, if Johnny Depp was a true monster, right? Let's talk for exaggerations. If Johnny Depp was a true monster, like a psychopath, a psycho, right? I can tell you that that guy will have, first of all, no feelings. He will be deadpan. He will have no feelings, and I'm telling you, he will be staring straight at her the whole time. I'm telling you, if Johnny Depp was this monster that she's making him to be, this great abuser, the guy probably will have, like most sociopath, basically narcissist sociopath, wouldn't care because they don't really have much empathy or sympathy for others. So he wouldn't be feeling. The guy looks there like he looks like he's cringing. He's like almost like 2 steps away from actually having a panic attack, you know? He's just controlling this situation by drawing. Because if you noticed before, and again, I'm not an expert, I'm just making this up from observation, but here we can speculate. Like I said before, here we can speculate because we are not affecting anyone that can have any decisional power in this trial. We're just talking, so it's all good. And to me, it looks like he's just coping by drawing. His drawing is channeling its pain and the difficulty to listen to this by drawing on a piece of paper because he just doesn't want to be there. And you go back to her again, and she's telling the story, she's telling the old details. I found it absolutely amazing that she also goes into kind of shifting the voice pitch while she's talking, like describing the person that was present in an occasion, like mimicking that person, you know, like you look at her, it really seems like somebody that it's really wants attention. She claims attention. She's giving this performance and she wants attention of everyone, of the lawyers, of the judge, of the jury, of course. She's 99% of the time looked at the jury, addressing the jury. Well rehearsed, well scripted. Yeah, I was also amused by that part where basically she gave him a gigantic knife, and I'm like, wow. And another thing that I find it very amusing is, of course, also the fact that they you know, it seems like those abuse started quite early after 2011 or 12. And it seems quite amusing that they went on to marry in 2015. Honestly, guys, like listening to this again without the audio, it feels even more apparent how overacting she is. Look at that. Fascinating. Look at Johnny cringing. Look at Johnny's cringing, like he's frowning. He's just trying to hold it together in pain, and you know, like he's moving towards the lawyer. Probably he's gonna say something. I remember he was probably breaking a little bit the tension by saying a joke, and you see him smirk. And I noticed that he does that also to cope with the barrage of accusation. Because she's telling one thing after another and another and another and another. And the more I listened to it, the more I thought, wow, like for somebody that has all this stuff to say, she never thought of having medical reports at hand of all the bruises and cuts or punches or whatever that Johnny Depp did to her. Look at that. She's crying. Wow. I look at this and I find it difficult to stomach. Jesus. Well, of course, for people joining in now, we already watched the live. We already watched the live before. Now I just wanted to show you, like, guys, when you listen to this, when you look at this without the audio, you see like the exacerbation of the expression, right, of retelling a story. And you also see what I was telling before of how interesting it is, how quickly she goes from, you know, from anger to fear to crying to baseline again. You see, she's like truly going through the whole spectrum at command. Like, feels like really when you channel the character, you know, when you're channeling a character, typical of acting, so to speak, you know, like you're channeling, and then you see she looks towards the lawyers for sort of validation. Sometimes she looks towards the judge seeking for validation. And of course, she's always seeking validation from, see, she's looking at the judge. She's doing this whole performance clearly aware of everybody in the room. Wow. Yeah, I agree. She's a terrible actress. I mean, this to me doesn't look authentic one bit. But like I said before, it's fucking Johnny up. I honestly, from yesterday, from that Karen doctor to this, he's gonna have a hard time to get back to this, you know? He's gonna have his team and him. Again, I'm not a lawyer expert. I don't know how those things work. But just like I said before, it just feels hard to counter this. She's going in with so much stuff, with so much details, and all of these, of course, there's nothing. There are two pictures. That's it. There's nothing else. There's two pictures of no medical records, a bruise on a arm and a little bruise on the cheek here. That's it. No scratch, no 5 finger. I mean, if I do this on my face, I get 5 fingers like in 10 seconds. I'm gonna have red. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, this woman has not like hands or whatever. Like, she literally said that was kicked, punched, pushed, whatever, and that's the only thing she managed to get on pictures. Go figure. I mean, I swear to God. I mean, you can literally bump while walking into a door and you get a bruise on the arm. You know, like you can literally like bump your butt into a corner or something, and then you get a blue spot. You know, some people get that very quickly. So also that's like, you know, like go figure what it's true. You know. Yeah, I mean, like, you see, like, fascinating, truly fascinating. It's really fascinating the way she delivers this. You see, boom, snapped out of it. She was going through the whole thing, then she reminds herself, like, okay, I have to watch out. I cannot step too quickly out of it. I know I sound terribly biased too, but again, who cares? We're just sharing emotions here. See, she bites her lips. Boom. Gone. Done. Oh, she snapped out of it. Wow. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's really strange that in the end, the evidence that we hear, especially the audio, to me it feels like she's way more aggressive than he is. He sounds most of the time. He sounds drunk. Definitely, he sounds drunk. But he does not sound like he sound like you can tell that there are people that they get into an argument, especially also in that trailer when he but I guess that day is after he got the finger off, right? So he probably is very pissed off. If I understand correctly, that video of him being in the trailer where he's smashing some cabinet and kicking one cabinet and then throwing a glass in the faucet there in the sink in the kitchenette. If I remember correctly, it's after he got the finger cut off, right? So I and probably was already drunk in the morning, I suppose. Please, guy, correct me if I'm wrong. Regarding the incident in the trailer, the video that it's out. So I would be upset too if I lost like the top of my finger. So okay, it was not the same day, and then somebody said also that his mother died a few days before or something. No, I totally believe that the guy was in a rough spot. I don't think like it's unfortunate that they can leverage the fact that he probably was abusing himself for sure. He was probably drinking, indulging into probably medication. He said himself, and then he was on prescribed medication to get off of other stuff, or also then he had to get off the medication, I guess. But that does not make you a monster or an aggressive person. I mean, I literally have been surrounded by people that smoked heroin, that did heroin, that they had to go through like methadone phases, and I can tell you the truth, like somebody that it's kind and soft just stays kind and soft also when he does cocaine or when he does heroin, or other stuff. You just unfortunately messed up, but that doesn't make you like a monster. I have had some experience with it firsthand. And of course, everybody's different. But like I said, I think that a person that in general has calm manners and it's known to be kind and quiet and chill, even if it's like getting into drinking, it doesn't get aggressive. I've seen quite a lot of stuff. I had the brother of my father, right? And he was known really to hammer himself, like really to the place of no return. You know what I mean? And he hammered himself well. I mean, for a period, he actually worked with me here as well in '99, the first year that I came here. He was working in the restaurant here with me. And oh man, we also went out. Actually, I have some stories. I just remembered. I have to ask my sister the time she was here too. Sometimes we went out together. Oh man, my uncle, he could just hammer himself like wow to a place of no fucking return. He was a good guy. He was a good guy. He was an incredibly good guy. He had an abusive woman that cheated on him, that had kids with somebody else, and he loved them as if they were his own. And yeah, he literally drunk himself to death. No, a person that it's kind, a person that it's soft, even by fucking destroying himself with alcohol, is not gonna become aggressive. You really have to get it out of him, you know? And I think honestly this is what happened with this guy right here. I think she literally got the worst out of this man, you know? She got the worst out of this man. And the sad part is that most likely she's not gonna have any consequence in terms of being convicted. Like I said, Johnny's on his way to lose this. If they don't come up with something relevant tomorrow, it's on his way to lose this again. And again, it's a story of a soft man that gets in the whirlpool of emotions and manipulation of a disturbed soul, a person that is so far gone in her own narcissism and mental health issues that she needs help herself through therapy and rehabilitation and whatnot, probably even medication, to try to steer the course on a more peaceful life. But she's so lost probably in it, and it's the type of person that just leaves wreckages behind. And this time the wreckage that she left behind is destroying the life of Johnny Depp. It's really sad to watch. It's really sad to feel this. I'm sure that there's many of you out there also watching that can relate to what I just said in terms of a kind man, even when he's self-indulging into abusing himself, is not going to change into a monster. Yeah, Maria, I'm sorry too. I'm sorry too. I haven't seen him. I hadn't seen him in a very long time. We lost contact for many, many, many years. Also because, yeah, I live here and yeah. It's undescribable the harm that manipulative women can do to certain good men. It's undescribable. I think my uncle drank before, but after the divorce with this woman, after the shame, probably after knowing that the kids were not his. I mean, honest to God, you know, like, and the good part though is that fortunately, I have to say, there's a good side to this story. Fortunately, the kid that grew up also by knowing him as his father, because the other guy never recognized them. The kid that, yeah, were not his kid, basically treated him though as later on in life as if it was, as if he was their father, his father. So that was nice. But the damage you can do, man, like, wow, the damage you can do to somebody. Yeah, I'm also like, I don't know. I read somewhere that she has had like a surrogate child. So I don't know exactly what that means. If basically she gave any, I don't know how that works. But I suppose that somebody else carried the pregnancy for her, and then she get the kids from this other person, this other woman, I suppose, right? Is that correct? And you go like, oh wow, this woman has a kid? Jesus, man. She said he has a gun collection and never shot her. Huh? How about that? He had a gun collection, never shot her. Yeah, it's fascinating that she got married, you know? Like after like the first years of abuse, then they chose to get married. As if that sounded like to be a good idea. And of course you can say like, the toxic relationship, yeah, it's difficult to get out. She wanted to change him, to make him a better man. Probably not. I always find, you know what I find amusing? Always the fact that, you know that you're dating a megastar. You know that is going to have, that you know that must be a part of you that is making that decision, because you know that some privileges are going to come from that. For the same reason she started dating Elon Musk afterwards. She wasted not so much time, it seems, to go from one to the next. And yeah, I mean, and A-lister was not good anymore. So she went to the next stage, the billionaire. The millionaire was not enough anymore. I've said this also in another video. I think Elon Musk dodged a bullet with her, for real. And I think probably what saved him, because the guy might have even been engaged, like probably he even liked her or something, because also Elon Musk is an older guy. She was younger and pretty and wild, and of course guys can fall for that, like face down, like boom, on the floor right away. And I think he dodged a bullet big time there. I mean, she could have bring all this drama to him. Ooh, man. Could have destroyed another man, honestly. Probably could have destroyed... Probably could have destroyed a guy that is trying actually to do some good for the planet. At least it seems he's trying to do some good for the planet. Could have destroyed him too. We actually have to be lucky that didn't work. We have to consider ourselves lucky. I mean, she could have tanked Tesla stocks in 2 days. Can you imagine writing another op-ed or something on Elon Musk for alleged abuse? Like all of a sudden Elon Musk will go from 270 million to bankruptcy in 1 week time or something. And nobody argues that there is sick men and sick women. That's just that's obvious. Nobody's arguing that at all. Again, we are just siding here with Johnny Depp because first of all, we can, We are not making any decisions for anybody. We are not condemning anybody because we can't. We don't have the power here. None of us can. So we are siding. We're like on everything. People take sides, and this feels wrong. You know, like with the evidence that we have seen and what we have listened to and everything, and also even her talking, it just feels wrong. Doesn't feel right. It's really difficult to believe her, you know, and it's hard to. It's also sad to say, because of course you can say it's like, oh, this is the problem of women, which they go through abuse. People don't believe them. In this case, in this specific case, it's really difficult to believe her. Really hard. Like, somehow all the emotional things and the gut feeling point to the opposite. And until we don't get like a definitive kind of smashing proof that Johnny Depp was this freaking monster, it just feels wrong. It just feels all lies. It just does. And I agree with Michael. I'm pretty sure she was doing drugs too. She plays the saint, but probably on that table that she took the picture of the line of cocaine, probably she was fucking snoring that cocaine. Was on her side of the table, was on the angle of, you know, like she made that picture and she sent the picture to her friend to show off that how cool she was, that probably she was doing cocaine in the morning or whatever. And then after used it against him. Man, you gotta watch out what you text. You gotta watch out what you say, because everything can be taken out of context and used against you. Like even pictures that you share. She probably did like few line of coke, and you know, you can tell a story in a different way around the picture, you know. So again, I mean, if we weren't to be really picky, you can't believe neither of them, because it's just all self-report. There's really not much. Like, if we didn't have the audio, like the audios are really the thing that I'm pretty sure kind of steered people towards Johnny Depp. Before the audio got leaked, people were really more prone to believe her, and that has been the narrative for quite some year. As soon as those audios came out, the perception of the people shifted, and also mine. Honestly, before I wasn't sure very much. I also kind of put it on the side. I wasn't thinking about it very much anymore, about Johnny Depp and whatever. But when those audios came out and I heard them myself, and you start to observe, you know, you go like, oh wow, this feels weird. You know, she's accusing him all of this stuff, and to me the guy feels soft, you know. It just doesn't look like the type of guy that just stands up and just gets there and slaps you. You know, there's a lot of blah blah, there's a lot of cunt, a lot of fuck this, fuck that, and it throws a glass and then it goes into the other room. He doesn't look like, he doesn't feel like the guy that it's just gonna punch somebody, because usually psychopath, they get into like a rage, you know, and you're holding the phone and then they fucking smash your face into the cabinet, you know? Never happened. It's quite the other way around. Those audios really shifted the perception of people and made people understand that there's something wrong here. There's some manipulation at work. And like I said before, if you notice now, there's going to be a scene where she's talking to the lawyer. She went through all of those emotions on the stand. The moment she's finished, literally, it's probably not even a minute passing, like probably like 30 seconds. You're going to see like the image goes on her, and you see that she's talking to the lawyer and she's smiling and she's cheerful, like totally snapping out of the character that she was playing on the stand there. Actually, I remember that they were pointing out. What is it? Is it a little further? Because this was the pose? Yeah, this is the pose. Okay, this is the pose. But if you see like here at the end, what was it here? It's very interesting here at the end. You see that she went off the stand, and you will see like how cheerful she is with her lawyers, like for a moment. Then she gives her back because she realizes probably she's too cheerful to be just, she just stepped off the stand. And see, look at her. She's like, oh nice, oh, it was so good, oh yeah, it was all nice, I was so happy. And then she's turning her back. Probably the other woman says like, hey, listen, you're smiling too much. Oh man, it's so fascinating to see this stuff. Yeah, Took. Sorry, I'm in mono audio. Unfortunately, I usually use this audio Apollo Solo audio on mono, especially when I do record singing and stuff. I've never done with this new card a live, so tomorrow I'll find out. Probably I have to go through the mixer of the universal audio here Apollo and select stereo. Now the trial was already going, so I thought, okay, let's just talk. Guys, I really enjoyed being live with you. So also, of course, this trial is a nice excuse. I didn't know you could stream it. Hopefully, it stays on. And tomorrow, if she's gonna understand, maybe tomorrow. I think here it's like starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll come online as well. Maybe we do a little bit more. 4 o'clock should be a good time also for the East and also for the West. For my audience, both that it's a little bit further east from Europe and a little bit further west, both like South America, North America, and India. Like we might be all awake. Maybe in India or a little further, Bangladesh and Pakistan, or a little further, it's a little later. And in Brazil, should be fine. Maybe some of you that have lunch break or something, or maybe it's like 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, I suppose. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, nice to do lives with you guys. We're gonna do more stuff, and don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check the other videos. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I think this is one of the first time we have like around 100 people always in the chat. I really enjoy having you guys over. So let's do this also some other time. I'm gonna go to sleep. It's 12:30 here. So I'll see you tomorrow in the 1 or 2 videos of the day, and at 4 o'clock I try to come live with the trial. All right, guys, have a good night. Where is it, this thing? Here we go, we are here. I'll see you tomorrow. Take good care of yourself.